Hi guys, welcome back to my chit chat. I want to talk today about narcissism, right? But I want to talk about it from a different perspective than, or different angles and lenses than it's usually talked about. Um, but I also want to check, talk a little bit about the weather, not physical weather, but what's going on currently around the place right now. And I noticed some other people with sort of starseed channels are sort of talking about how there's this malaise, and I feel it. I talked about it last time I was on. There's just something going around. I mean, we know that every time that they announce more um, Greek alphabet updates, that it means that we're all going to be experiencing, some new energies and frequencies that they are emitting, either with their machines or with a lot of their negativity. But yeah, I noticed the last couple of days I woke up and I was just kind of, not really feeling my best, right? And for reasons that couldn't be explained, and things just started hitting me, and so immediately I'm like, okay, that's probably Chiron retrograde, and I need to like deal with some of my stuff. So I've been pretty devoted to stopping when there's something I have to deal with internally that comes up, some childhood triggers and stuff. And so that occurred. And it was interesting because Spirit led me to watch this thing on narcissism, which I know all about narcissism because I was in a very long-term relationship with one over the last, it's been about 4 years that I haven't been in it, but it carried on for about 7 years prior to 4 years ago, and it didn't end well. But I always, it was when the whole narcissistic trend was becoming, the talk of the day. So now everybody talks about narcissists, and everybody wants to call everybody a narcissist. And, it is true. Clinicians will tell you that we all are on the spectrum of narcissism. And why is that? They don't tell you this, or they don't say it. At least I haven't heard anyone say it. But primarily it's because we are in a culture. Western culture that's what it breeds. It breeds narcissism, and even more so now with social media and platforms like YouTube. Look at me being the narcissist. So we really have to work overtime with checking our narcissism. And it actually goes deeper than that, right? It really goes, the perspective I really want to, talk about it from, or the take I want to look at, is spiritually how we're moving into, or just evolution, human evolution, how we're moving into this aquarian age that we've heard all about, right? From the Piscean age. And what the aquarian age is supposed to stand for, right, is supposed to be this like wonderful, like ushering into a utopia. But I tell people all the time, before Uranus ruled Aquarius, Saturn ruled Aquarius. And if you know anything about Saturn, which is ruled by Capricorn astrologically, and also in the tarot, if you're into that, it's the devil card. Well, Capricorn is, but what I'm trying to say is Aquarius and Capricorn both were once, or Aquarius was once ruled by the same planet that Capricorn is. And when we think of Capricorn and Saturn, we think of a lot of patriarchal, heavy-handed hierarchy, leadership, karma, structure. It's like, you wouldn't really put that with the Aquarian age. Okay, I promised myself I was not going to be take a long time today. I'm trying to get these videos under 10 minutes. So yeah, narcissism, you know, people wouldn't really put it with Aquarius, but I do with the and so the Aquarian age, because when you, if you know about the lower aspects of Aquarius, the higher aspects is individuality and self-expression, and you know, being out of the box. And I mean, Aquarians are ruled by Uranus, and it's all these strange and unusual things, and you know, it's a lot of sort of extraterrestrial, out there, you know, kind of energy. And Aquarians are like that, and they're very brilliant too, and the energy is very brilliant because it's all about new, you know, new stuff, right? But the lower aspect of individuality is what, you know, it's very self oriented, right? And I'm saying that in a, you know, that's in a nice way. That's a nice way to say it. And if you know Aquarians, and nothing against my Aquarians, my father was an Aquarian, and he was like, I thought I was him until I hit adolescence. I mean, I literally, you know, projected myself onto him as a kid. And I probably have a lot of Aquarian nature. My son is an Aquarian. But like I said, the shadow side of Aquarians can have really hard time with relationships and other people, not impersonally, but personally. The heart chakra it's not that it's not open, it's just that it's got this weird kind of self, you know, everything is perceived from the lens of the self. A lot like Aries, but a little different, like more grown up, but still not evolved. So anyway, you know, it makes sense that narcissism would be something that we would be dealing with as part of the Aquarian age in order to evolve it, right? Like, so you don't start at the evolved state. You start at the lower state, or you start at the unevolved state, and we as humans are developing the template of these personalities or these types, right? So one of the things that, you know, we're all challenged with in this era is, you know, addressing our own narcissism. Okay, so I wrote a few notes. Let's see, our time. Okay, we're at 8 minutes. I really want to get this done in like 2 minutes. So narcissism, I call it the false mask, right? You know, because there's so many perspectives. The other perspective I really would like to talk about it from is the hyper spiritual perspective, even going into religious beliefs of demonic. Again, you hear me talk a lot about demonic entities and archons, because it's an issue that we're going to have to address soon, from whatever, you know, perspective you want to look at it. If you want to see it as an aspect, a polarity of yourself, fine. Nonetheless, we have these aspects that, you know, are challenging our mastery of light and dark. And I just call them, you know, demonic, because that was my upbringing. And, you know, as I said in another video, I'm not unidimensional with regard to spirituality or different types of spiritual beliefs. You know, I even go back and forth with science, you know, interchangeably with some of these spiritual concepts, especially quantum physics and quantum theory fit in with mysticism a whole lot. But anyway, so yeah, you know, narcissism, the clinicians will tell you, comes or is developed, the origin is from this traumatic childhood experience, basically, where as a child, the child did not receive enough attention or emotional support, and they you know, are seeking to get that in one way or another from these narcissistic relationships. They were basically traumatized and it developed a type of insecurity that we all have, that narcissism is based on. Anybody, I would always tell people this, anybody who, and I have to say this about the fire signs a lot. I love my fire signs. I have 6, and you guys will hear me talk a lot about astrology, even though this is not an astrological, session or chit chat necessarily, but it's just part of my orientation, and I'm not deep into astrology, but I do use it as a reference. So everybody has these insecurities because, again, the society breeds it, right? But the narcissist, that is like really the what am I trying to say? It's the foundation for the narcissist's motivations, right? And again, it comes from in childhood, developmentally, PTSD with parents who were either disengaged or unavailable, or who themselves were narcissists. Okay, and as a result of that, as a child, who exhibits, and not everybody. I mean, it's clear, it's been clearly articulated by clinicians and psychologists or whatever, that not everybody who experiences these traumas end up narcissists, and this is where they admit that they don't even know what's going on. And I don't really like to always reference things from a psychological point of view, because psychologists, they're a little nuts too sometimes, and you can tell them I said that. every psychologist I've ever known has a lot of psychological issues, seriously. But what happens is, based on this trauma that was experienced in childhood, again, usually unavailable and disengaged parents, or children who were overindulged as a result of divorce or whatever, and their parents overcompensated for certain impoverished emotional experiences. The developmental stage that the adult gets stuck in, that expresses its narcissism, is all about gaining control, because that was something that we were all supposed to master in moving through the developmental stages, to master self-regulation of the emotions. And so the narcissist, that's the whole issue. They're not able to do that. And this is clinical, right? This is in the books, the textbooks. So what they do is they spend their whole life trying to get validated and to feel powerful and important, basically because they don't feel that, right, from that insecurity. It's an insecurity issue. So then, you've heard that the narcissist always seeks out or preys upon empaths. And so, I'm definitely an empath. I was definitely preyed upon. But the empath's problem is, they're codependent and needy and want to fix everybody and save, Captain Saver, it's been said. But nonetheless, those two have sort of been having them hot flashes again, honey. They play off of each other, right? So let me get to the point, because I'm already at 14 minutes. Let me see if I can sum it up. When you look at it, it's a larger issue of the culture. That's why it has been trending over the last 10 years, right? And the larger issue is that we're all on the spectrum of narcissism. Narcissists are being made because most adults who were born from the 70s on, and probably before that, the 60s, I would say the 50s were the last years of, and even then we had problems, but I'm saying in the 70s and 80s is when the real problems started, like at a You could say it was the what do we call it? Oh gosh, I wanted to say monarch butterfly, but there's another one that they played on everybody. That oh my God, I'm drinking this kombucha that I love. Commercial break. I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing this, but this is my favorite kombucha. Yes, it's in a can, and yes, I know some people aren't down with that, but this one's golden pear. They have several different flavors. This one reminds me of, because I don't drink anymore, and I never really liked beers, but this reminds me of what a good. There was a moment right before I stopped drinking that I would every now and then have a Coors, right? The original Coors, and it was all because of Bobby Hemmick. And Bobby Hemmick and Panic was a loose friend of mine for a while. When he first started really coming out with his compelling information. And I go back to the Miss Blue days. But I remember Panic and Bobby especially used to talk about, because in Egypt they drank beer. And so he would talk about, if you get you get your hands on the original formula Coors, it's just like, drinking some of the beer that they used to drink in Kemet. And you'll have Bobby, he would tell you that it's like some little supernatural boost that you'll get from it, right? But anyway, I did find, and I hated beer, but I did find that when I drank some Coors, I liked it. I had never liked beer before. Even the IPAs, my ex used to drink those like expensive IPAs, like $5, $6 a bottle. But that Coors, that can of Coors, it was something about it that was like, it was right in there. So anyway, and so, when I got onto Better Booches a couple of years ago, you get them at Whole Foods, or I think Sprouts has them now. I was really having to work on my health because I had a health crisis and I couldn't do a whole bunch of stuff. But I would come home, and after work I would drink one of it's the golden pear. This is the one. And it just gave me this whole sense of like I was drinking a beer, right? So kombuchas, I love, many of us are healing our bodies, and kombuchas just really help the intestinal system and the gut with all the probiotics and stuff. Okay, I am at 18 minutes. I'm learning this YouTube thing. I'm gonna get better and better. But narcissism is something that we're all on the spectrum for. Therefore, it's something that we're all mastering because it's a template thing with the Aquarian age. And it's learning to move beyond this sort of obsession with the self, which is the individual distinction that we are. You've heard me talk about this before. The distinction that we are versus the plurality that we are. And the distinction was, individuality and the ego was a gift that we were given in order to make this game interesting, the simulation interesting. It's like when you take on an avatar, when you are playing a video game, right? You don't play as yourself. You create this character that has its own, everything, its own personality and abilities and needs and motivations, etc. So the same thing with our ego and our personality, and which creates a distinction from the plurality that we all exist as. There really is no you. I've said this many times. When you get into the higher dimensions that go beyond polarity, these are the lower dimensions, right? We got 2D, 1D, and then scrap under 3D. But when you move up to 12D, beyond 9D even and beyond, this polarity thing is not experienced with the same realness and texture as it is here. So some of us have stepped down into 3D because we already exist consciously on these other dimensions, and we understand polarity in Taoist terms. to be two halves of a whole, or duality, or multidimensionality, to be the many that make up the one, or the one that branches out into the many. And if you're a shaman, or you move in the spirit and energy of shamanism, that the self, what was remember in Game of Thrones, what was her name? Arya or Inya or something like that, the little girl who went on that whole initiation of becoming the person with no face or something, or the many faces but no face. And that was real deep, because that's the shaman's path too, that you learn that when you go into that type of initiation, that there is no you. The Taoist, the Buddhist, sorry, that's the other thing about the kombucha. It makes you burp a lot, but that's good. You learn that, there really is no you. You don't exist. Many higher level belief systems have taught this, especially the mystic paths. So anyway, looks like I'm not going to get out of here under 30 minutes. The point is that we're all mastering, recovering from narcissism. And when you're dealing with a narcissist, up front, like me, in a long-term, relationship for years with a narcissist, you're really mirroring yourself. Anytime you deal with anything or anybody that upsets you, it's just a mirror, because we all are one, But one thing, interestingly, that I heard the other night is one psychologist was explaining about the super empath, and how not everybody's going to want to be a super empath narcissistically, the empaths, right? Because the super empath is the one that it was said can ultimately checkmate the narcissist. So hopefully, if you're now, what I'm learning, because I know, I had to look at my own narcissism within me again, and that's not hard for me, I knew that a long time ago. My personality is adapted for narcissism. But the difference between me and the narcissist that I was messing with is that I was aware of the fact that I have narcissistic characteristics. And I was moving to get away from them. And if you know me from Facebook, that's all I talk about. So I'm not talking about narcissism from a judgmental, aloof perspective. I'm saying we all are dealing with narcissism, me included. And so we have to work to challenge it within ourselves. And this is the work we're doing for the template. It's not just for our own little personal menial lives. It's for everybody, because we're working on changing the template, the human template and the construct, right? To raise the frequency so that we can exist in something collectively that's of a higher level, a higher caliber of existence. That doesn't happen by minding your own fucking business. Well, you do mind your own business, but you also have that's what consciousness is for. That's why we've gone through all of these movements of raising our consciousness and becoming woke and becoming spiritually awakened, and why we read all these stupid books, knowledge. It's not for the sake of knowledge. It's for the sake of raising this experience. In Christianity, I love to reference the New Jerusalem. I call it Jerusalem, like the Kemet word Heru. It's and Salam is peace. This new is the rainbow frequency of creating a utopia, a heaven on earth. We do that. We don't vote for people and wait for them to do it. We don't wait for God and Jesus to come from the sky. But that can be explained in a different perspective too. Because Jesus, or the Christ energy, Christos, the rainbow energy, exists within us. And that's coming from our evolution spiritually. As we awaken, our DNA turns from carbon-based to crystalline-based. And a lot of other stuff that we haven't caught on with yet. But anyway, back to narcissism in 5 minutes or less. When we challenge the narcissist in ourselves, okay, and if we're fortunate enough to have a soulmate or a twin flame or a karmic even, who we're bouncing back and forth and mirroring and seeing ourselves in them and getting mad at them, and then breaking up with them to understand that what we were mad about in them is in us, and then we start to work on it in us, right? And then when we reconnect with other human beings, we're helping one another, to address this issue, so that in the Aquarian age we rise to the higher vibration or frequency of self-love, because narcissism is a low frequency of self-love. It's based on an insecurity, and so when you're insecure, you overcompensate. That's what I was saying about the fire signs. You overcompensate with an unhealthy confidence and arrogance, right? A hierarchical belief that you are the shit, the braggadocio, the era of the beginning era of rap. And the reason why rap was like that in the beginning is because you were dealing with a generation that had been beat down and targeted for destruction. Their parents, there was a large crack epidemic. A lot of kids grew up with their parents being drug addicts or into drugs, or if it wasn't that, it was just on the streets, and the parents who weren't on drugs were stressed the F out because we were under Reaganomics, and it's just a lot. It's a lot that they threw at this culture of hip hop, indigos. And so that's why we loved the indigo hip hop crew, because they literally picked themselves up and survived through their own will and intent, their own belief in themselves, their own quantum theory creation of I am important, I am the bomb, I am worthy, I am this. And that came from the generation before them, feeding them with lovely stuff. There was a lot of knowledge that came out of that movement from the beginning. And you guys all know about it, whether it was Wu-Tang or, just the scholars that were spitting, Kemet, history and other histories that told young melanated kids that they were special, and that they were gods, and that they were goddesses, and that they were, the creators of they were from the people who created all of civilization. You can like it or not, but it's true. So, and that don't mean that they were all good, because like I always tell, a lot of my friends and family members and loved ones who are very conscious of their, of history, that if they didn't make any mistakes, why are we where we are now, right? So just because people these are the faces of and the souls of ancient Egypt or ancient civilizations, doesn't mean that, they were righteous 100%. Because if that was the case, based on the rules of karma or of scientific cause and effect, there wouldn't be any suffering. So somebody effed up somewhere. But so back to the narcissist. The super empath will play the game, will get really good at knowing the narcissist, and end up unconsciously or consciously playing the game that checkmates the narcissist. Sends the narcissist away thinking about who they are and what they've done, and then correcting it if they make the choice. Now let's real quick flip this to a perspective of against spirituality from let's even say a religious point of view. I know some of you don't like that, but oh well. My channel, as they say. That's narcissistic. Oh God, they get on my nerves when they always say that. If you don't like my information on my channel, then go to another channel. I'm sure there are lots of readers and lots of people that will resonate with you. That always gets on my nerves, man. But anyway, so, from a perspective of spirituality, religious, and because really it's I'm a mythologist as well. When you look at the whole dynamic of entities, demonic entities, malevolent entities, extraterrestrials, archons, whatever, those, but nagas, negus, the serpent energy, but there's different kind of serpent energy. So I resonate with, serpent energy is cool and all that, but as someone with ancient DNA oracle energy that I've awakened to and channeled, we dealt with my clan dealt with, and I'm talking spiritually and genetically, dealt with the serpent and the avian energy together. So you have in Indigenous American culture, which goes back to the beginning, just as far back as any other nation, Asia, Africa, whatever, we dealt with Quetzalcoatl. In ancient Kemet, we dealt with the snake and the bird together, the phoenix, the serpent, it's a combined, tribal dynamic, and in India too, everywhere. So, and then you have other serpents or reptiles. I come from a dragon clan. That's the serpent evolved and aspected or mutated to a different type of energy. And the same with the turtle, which I resonate with, in a reptilian form. So all reptiles are not serpents, and all reptiles are not malevolent or controlling or hierarchical like some groups are. So you gotta understand that. And again, I'm not hating on the crawling serpent energy. That's cool if that's what you do, but what's not cool is for you to try to take over the planet, take over other people, terrorize folks, predators that want to, feel like they can, spit out venom and poison. Now, I'm not here for that. And again, because I'm a mutt, frequency-wise, genetically, as a Moorish woman, the admixtures are diverse. Most of you here in America are like that. Those of you who are going to be watching me anyway, that are brown especially. But we have expressions of, it's just like, in our families, we have expressions of Native Americans, of Africans, of Irish, of Scottish, of British, everything. So, what was I saying? We're dealing with demons and energies. That's what it goes down to. And really, I wanted to talk about the vampires, but which a lot of us have in our cultural background. I was in New Orleans over the holiday, the Christmas holiday. My father's side of the family has Creole, and my ex-husband was from New Orleans, was Creole. So that energy, a lot of us are, tapping into that energy. There's so much that could be said about that, but vampires, Romania, people think those were all just white folks. So sorry to tell you, they weren't. So, that vampire energy that got checked is a large part of, the serpent energy, and the energy of and it's got a dark element to it. The energy of preying on other people for their life energy, whether it's, some people just think it's light, but it's the same people who are doing that crazy shit with drinking blood, and some people are down with that in demonology. Some of our people, some of the people I've just quoted who, I've learned a lot from and respect, because, again, once you move beyond polarity, you understand that you have a dark and you have a light, and to just hover in one polarity is not gonna do you well. You gotta master both light and dark in order to become a balanced being. The problem is you don't want to be stuck in any one polarity. Being stuck in light is just as bad as being stuck in dark. It's not, light workers. We've already busted, the whole thing with light workers. That's some bullshit. We all know that. So, but when you have these demonic entities, these archons who need to inhabit other people's bodies and prey on other people's light and use other people's energy because they've lost their own through a lack, just like the narcissist. The narcissist has lost it through the lack of empathy. But it becomes a choice at a certain point when you realize it's like being an alcoholic or a drug addict. There's a point at which you will be introduced to the idea that you have a problem. Now, are you going to stay in that problem, or are you going to try to address creating healing for that problem? Spiritual addiction the same way, or spiritual, issues the same way. We've all been infected by demonic entities, or archonic, dark, malevolent entities. And in every belief system, they exist. So again, narcissism is, I would love to, but I'm way too far in right now. I would love to go into how, spiritually narcissism developed, and I'll talk about that. Maybe I'll talk about it in another video tonight, since I'm rambling. I just don't want these videos longer than like 30 minutes, and I think I've already gone over that. Yep, 37. Okay, we're gonna cap it at 40. But the origin with regard to Luciferian, or again, we can interchange those names for whatever you like. We can make it scientific for you if you can't deal with anything that's not science. Science is the new religion, so we'll speak to your religion using quantum physics, which is the highest science of the day. But you're dealing with these factions, or this energy that has rebelled against the natural order of creation, of humanity, and has gone too far to one side. And you can say whatever you want, but you've seen people who've been taken over by some aspect or element that's considered evil. Interchange the word again with whatever fits you. But evil. Evil is something that we all are challenged with. Because when you experience trauma, which we could define what trauma is on a spiritual level, but any kind of trauma is really just a separation, a feeling that you're separate from prime source, and you lose your empathy, you lose your heart, you lose that love feeling that everybody should have. And when that happens, then you can fall into a darkness. You can fall into an evil. And with the Luciferian rebellion, it becomes service to self. Fuck everybody else. Let everybody else be for themselves. If everybody's for themselves, we'll be good. No, that's another one I'm going to talk about. I wrote about a couple nights ago to remind me of something to talk about. But, creating, the Aquarian age is about creating a family, a collective community of awakened, conscious human beings. And awakened and conscious is not just a freaking mental, intellectual thing. It's about, I talked about this in my other video, it's about the heart. The heart is what opens you to empathy, not the brain, not overthinking shit, not being about me. It's the heart. And that's interdependence. Like all good indigenous cultures of this planet had a culture of interdependence, communalism, not communism, not socialism, communalism. And again, your heart has to be opened in order to evolve down that path where you understand and know, G-N-O, not know, K-N-O-W, that we are all one and all connected. That's something that's been sound biting for decades now. We're one, kumbaya, we're one. You know, it's deeper than that. And you have to understand it at the level that would truly allow you to be able to open up your heart, and evolve your spirit into deeper parts of your soul that get you to now move beyond this primary stage of, self-love, the low self-love, narcissism, to the higher self-love, and then into the self-love and understanding that everybody is you, so you love others as yourself. Okay, I gotta stop there. Was there something else I really wanted to say? If so, I'll just do another video. Yeah, we're at 40 minutes. Perfect. Well, it's not perfect because I wanted to do 10. But yeah, so next time we'll talk a little bit about what's happening with the Greek. I call it the Greek letter. What's the word I can even use for it? I don't know. Everybody has. I'm so impressed when people have these code words for the talk of the day, what's going on in the world right now. But I just call them Greek alphabet crap that they have next phase and level of. So we'll talk about that current. I call it current energetic weather, and that's it for now. And thank you guys for watching. And I really don't want to be that YouTube person that says like my page, but I guess there's some algorithm to, if you don't like and subscribe, you don't stay on long. I don't even know. I haven't figured it out yet. But yeah, let me say it the way everybody else does. Please don't forget to like my page and subscribe so that others can see my video. Sorry guys. Have a wonderful one. Peace.